Hare Krishna. So we'll start this session by paying our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of ISKCON. We'll seek blessings from our spiritual masters. So we are on our journey, the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is titled as Transcendental Knowledge. In this chapter, there are a total of 42 verses. And for the sake of convenience, we have divided the chapter into 6 sections. We have already covered the first 3 sections, and today we will be touching upon the 4th section, which is understanding karma on the basis of Gyan. So from verse number 16 to 24, we will try to cover today. So before starting today's session, I just want to check if you have any questions or any doubts you want to clarify from the previous sessions. Okay, so basically this chapter is in continuation from the previous chapter, where Arjuna asked the question that Krishna, what is that which forces us to do wrong acts? And then Krishna told that it is lust. And with the help of spiritual intelligence and transcendental knowledge, you can conquer over that lust, right? And here, in continuation with that, Krishna talks about transcendental knowledge, that what is the correct way of receiving that transcendental knowledge? What is the qualification of that transcendental knowledge? And while Krishna was speaking on that, Krishna said that I gave this knowledge to Vivaswan, the sun god. On this, Arjuna took an opportunity for people in general to glorify Krishna by asking him that how come am I to understand that you are senior to sun god Vivaswan, because seemingly you are my contemporary, right? So then Krishna starts talking about himself, his unique position, his appearance, right? And then when does he appear? Why does he appear? And people who know about these transcendental acts, transcendental nature of Krishna, will not take birth again, right? And that a person who is above all the attachment, fear, and anger, which has come by different type of philosophies, will actually attain to the transcendental loving service of Krishna, right? And then Krishna says that I am a reciprocal and loving God. I reciprocate according to the approach of my devotee, right? Today, all of you have memorized this verse, right? That someone will like to recite this verse. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satev bhajamah mama vartamano vartante manushya parth sarvasha, right? So he reciprocates. And then why people worship demigods? Then Krishna says, these people who don't have sufficient developed intelligence, they seek for quick results, which is why they go to demigods. And he will further explain in subsequent chapters that ultimately everything is provided by me to demigods also, right? But if anything is achieved by worshipping demigods, that thing will be limited and temporary. So basically, Krishna wants to say that there is no need of approaching demigods. We should just worship Krishna, right? And then it's not that Krishna has set very high standards. Actually, he has said he has divided the society into in a very strategic manner, depending on the psycho-physical nature of living entities, right? And for everyone, there is a sufficient opportunity how they can approach Krishna. And we will see in next session that how Krishna has actually given different type of sacrifices. Sacrifices means how they can work in a different way, that they can approach Krishna, right? So Krishna has divided the whole society into four varnas, right? And then he says that although I have divided the society into these four varnas, but I am not part of it, and nothing can impact me, right? I'm above and beyond it, right? I am never entangled because I don't want anything, right? And person who understands this fact, will never be entangled in fruitive reactions, right? So he's like, again, he's saying, he's repeating the same thing what basically he repeated, he highlighted in 4.9. Janam karam chame devyam evam veti tattva 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 deham punarjanma neti mameti soarjana. So, there he said, person who knows about my birth and activities. And similarly, here he says that person who knows that nothing can impact or affect me, right? He will not be affected by fruitive reactions, right? And then, having spoken about, that how he has divided things into varnas, that nothing impacts him, he will now start speaking about how we should act. That is, so from 16th onward, it will be in continuation from the third chapter. Basically, third chapter was all about Karma Yoga, but that chapter was interrupted by Arjuna asking the question about lust, right? So now, having spoken about lust, having spoken about transcendental knowledge, Krishna will again start speaking about how one should act in this society, right? And before starting to speak on how one should act, he says that we all should perform our duty following the footsteps of previous acharyas, right? Because they know how to act. Previous acharya means someone who teaches by his example. Acharan, someone who teaches by his acharan, right? He's known as acharya. So they have acted in a way which was spotless, which was actually transcendental, right? And Krishna here encourages that the entire society should follow in the footsteps of previous acharyas, because they knew their position, they knew Krishna's position. So we should take advice from them, we should take guidance from them, we should take teachings from them. So we'll start onto today's session now, which is understanding karma on the platform of jnana, the platform of real knowledge, that how one should act on the basis of proper knowledge of Krishna, proper knowledge about our relationship with Krishna, right? That is very important, because last time I told you this fact: to know Krishna and to know about Krishna, these are two different things, right? This doctor, right? She's a pediatrician, and the mother of this child has come to show the child to the doctor. Now, the doctor may request this child to undergo some investigations, and on the basis of that investigation, it may be some imaging investigations or some blood investigations, right? And then doctor will come to know that few details about the child. But my question is, who knows about the child better? Does the doctor know, or does the mother know? Yes, the doctor may know certain parameters, right? Like, for example, if you go on the street and ask someone about Krishna, they may know, right? They may know something about Krishna, but they don't know Krishna tattvataha. Evam yuveti tattvataha. person who knows me tattvata. Tattvata means that his position is transcendental. A person who knows Krishna, deeply, in and out about his activity, in and out about his appearance, in and out about, his, how does he act, right? How is controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadir Anadir Adir Govinde Sarva Karana Karana, right? We should know, everything. That person is similar to the mother of a child. Mother of a child knows everything, right, about the child. Doctor knows superficially. So here Krishna is requesting that we know him tattvata, that his position is transcendental, right? Now Krishna talked about himself, that he's the creator, he's the culmination of all paths, right? And then he requested that all of us should follow on the footsteps of previous acharyas. Now, if we have to follow on the footsteps of previous acharya, that means that we should not act whimsically. We should not act independently. We should not act on the basis of our whims and fancies, right? There is a proper conduct. Like when we work in our companies, right? We follow certain SOPs. We follow certain working instructions. We follow certain operating guidelines, right? And overall, even our company works under the umbrella of larger laws of the government, right? Similarly, there is a universal government and there are universal rules and regulations. And all the rules of this are laid down by Krishna himself, right? In 15.15, Krishna says that from all the Vedas, I am to be known and I am the compiler of the Vedas, right? So these rules and regulations in the Vedas have been laid down by Krishna himself, right? And we have to follow those rules and regulations. And Krishna sends empowered beings to showcase how we should act. Otherwise, we'll get confused. People are confused. People are bewildered by reading Bhagavad Gita. They don't understand Bhagavad Gita, and we will not understand Bhagavad Gita until and unless we have someone who can explain us, right? So Krishna helps not only by sending or writing a literature, but also he sends across people who live by example, which is what Krishna is requesting us, that we should follow on the footsteps of previous acharyas, right? Now, in 16th verse, he will start talking about karma. So in this verse, he says that even so-called intelligent people, they get bewildered because it's not easy to understand the principles of karma. Okay, so will someone like to recite this verse and read the translation?
Okay, Prabhuji.
Can I
Kim,
read?
okay.
Okay.
Kim karma kim karmeti kavayopyatra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yajnatva mokshase shubhat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune.
Right. Thank you very much. So here, Krishna is saying that even intelligent people are bewildered. Bewildered by what? Kim karma, kim akarmeti. What is action, what is inaction? Kavyo payat mohita. They become bewildered, mohita. Who? Intelligent, kavayo. So tatte karma pravakshami. So therefore, I will explain you what is this karma. Yad gyatva mokshase shubha. And knowing this, you will be liberated from all the ashubha, all the misfortune. Now, please try to understand, there is very deep thought behind what Krishna is speaking here. Krishna is saying that I will explain you about karma, all these things. And knowing this, you will be liberated. So that means karma is so important. Our actions are so important that our actions can either bind us in this material world forever, or they can help us to transcend this cycle of birth and death. And if someone is serious about a spiritual life, and if he understands this whole process of action and inaction, then we will be able to overcome this cycle of birth and death. We will liberate, we will transcend. What are we going to transcend? We are going to transcend the cycle of going to Swargalok or Narkalok. And we will go to Vaikunthalok, Golok Vrindavan. So that is why it is important. Sometimes we, oh, what is the problem? We are doing this thing. I am doing it nicely, no problem. Because we have our own philosophies, unfortunately. We don't want to listen to what Krishna is saying. Although Bhagavad Gita is available, people, they don't want to understand. And then even sometimes they understand, they don't want to follow. Right? Krishna, he's giving us everything. Let's understand what is this. Action should not be independent. Why? To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized person who are in the line of disciplic succession. Right? Krishna has talked about this in 15th verse. Right? That we have to act with the understanding. What is Krishna's position? What is our position? What is transcendental knowledge? And not only theoretically, but practically how to do things, how to act, how to perform our duties. We should follow the examples of previous acharyas, right? And these principles are themselves laid down by Krishna himself. Now, out of causeless mercy of his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjun what action is, what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. Prabhupada in these verses gives an example that the same act which binds us, if done in Krishna consciousness, can liberate us. Same act. The only difference is of our consciousness. For example, sometimes milk will cause some kind of indigestion. But if we take curd, that curd may help us in curing that problem. So although curd is almost a product of milk, right? It is another form of milk. And milk has caused the problem, the curd can relieve the problem. So act, work, or duty which binds everyone in this bondage of birth and death. Same act, if done with having transcendental knowledge, following the footsteps of Acharya, can liberate us. Right? And Krishna is now going to explain what is it. Someone would like to recite this verse, read the translation.
Karmano Kyapi bodhavyam bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi.
Translation.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
Right. Now, here Krishna is using the word bodhavyam 3 times. Right? The translation of bodhavyam is should try to understand. What should we try to understand? What is karma? What is vikarma? And what is akarma? There are 3 words: karma, vikar, and akarma. Karma is translated as action. Vikarm is translated as forbidden action, and akarm is translated as inaction. And Krishna is saying, Gahana karmano gatihi. The intricacies of actions are very hard to understand, very difficult to understand. But then Krishna, being merciful, loving God, he's taking time and efforts to explain these things to us. What is it? These 3 things. And now what is this?
Domino effect.
Hmm?
Domino effect.
So this is action, and what will happen?
That
Right?
will fall on his friend. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, we act not realizing what will be the reaction of the same. And Prabhupada writes this in the purport. Someone would like to read it?
If
I'll
one
do
is serious
Okay.
about if one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed toward this conclusion.
Thank you, Lavanya. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is directed towards the conclusion that we all are servants of Krishna. Jivere Sarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. If we act with that understanding, with that knowledge that we are servants of Krishna, and what is Krishna's position, and what is our relationship, and how should we act, what we should not be doing, then we'll get liberation from the material bondage. Okay. Now, 18th verse. Will someone like to read this?
One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men and is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities.
He says, now how do we qualify in these engineering to get into these engineering colleges, IITs, medical colleges, and big institutes, management colleges, by taking that exams, right? And we qualify. Now here, and those people are said to be intelligent people. But in this verse, Krishna is saying intelligence is one who sees inaction in action and action in action. Now, if you go and ask them this thing, then you can judge for yourself if they are intelligent or not. Not only that he is intelligent person, but that person will be in transcendental position. Although seemingly he may be engaged in all sort of activities. And today you will see it looks very, very confusing, this statement in itself. Inaction in action and action in action. Right? But today we will decipher this, what it actually means. Now, what is Arjun doing here?
Doing what? Following Krishna's instructions.
Okay. Now, Arjun is fighting, right? And Arjun will be killing someone. And his oppositions are of Duryodhana's party. They are also doing they are all Kshatriyas. Arjun is a Kshatriya, Duryodhana is a Kshatriya. They are doing their prescribed duty. They are performing an action. Okay. And killing someone can be also said a forbidden action, vikarma. Why we should be killing someone? But what is inaction? Is it action? Is it inaction, or is it forbidden action?
Inaction.
Very nice, Rajeshji. Now, please explain, how is it inaction? What do you understand first by inaction?
Inaction in the sense, inaction in the sense doing something by keeping Krishna in consciousness, because Arjuna there is doing just what is said by Krishna.
Yes.
Though it appears to be a forbidden action to kill someone, he is simply following Krishna's instructions. So that is called inaction.
And if Arjuna would have gone to forest, then what it would have been?
It could have been action only, because he is not following Krishna's instructions.
It would be forbidden action.
Forbidden.
Because he is doing something against the will of God.
Kshatriya.
Right?
Against.
Please try to understand. Seemingly, it may look so nice. Wow, Arjuna has renounced everything. He's going to forest. And all the Kali Yuga Indians will clap, and wow, Times of India and Hindustan Times, there will be front page, and wow, and everyone will be gaga about this. But spiritualists will call this is nonsense. This is forbidden action. And when Arjuna fights on behalf of Krishna, that is inaction. Inaction means that action which will not have any fruitive reaction. Inaction means akarma. Akarma means inaction. And that is an action which will not have any fruitive reaction, the positive or negative. For action, there may be a positive reaction. You do some pious acts, you go to Swarga. You do impious acts, you go to hellish planets. Right? But if you do transcendental acts, then you go to Golok Vrindavan. Right? Same action, same activity, same duty, same work. But the consciousness, why you are doing something, what for are you doing, on whose instructions are doing, what is your consciousness when you are doing, is what decides. Now, we have discussed, I'll go through. Yeah.
Sorry, I just have one quick question. So basically, in this war, both Arjuna and Duryodhana were fighting. As we understand, Arjuna was fighting for Krishna's, because of Krishna's instruction or Krishna's, will to fight. So that becomes inaction. So we can see the inaction in his action. because he wasn't attached to any fruitive activities. But at the same time, Duryodhana and party were performing action because they were fighting for the earthly pleasures. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
And we will, this is just a starting, today by end of this session, you will understand fully. So I'll now take you through some concepts which we have discussed in our introductory sessions. So I'll go through them little fast, but you can stop me if you don't understand. Okay. So is speaking truth good or not?
May not be good all the time.
Right. Seemingly, according to Times of India, truth is good.
Yes.
Charity is
Great.
great, awesome, fantastic, right? Yeah. But let's try to understand it. Charity to a terrorist organization or charity to a drunkard, is it good or bad? Right? Bad. Speaking truth to a butcher seeking the path of a runaway cow, good or bad?
Bad.
While people say, yeah.
So I was saying ghastly karma, actually.
Right. While people would say, oh, Krishna made Yudhishthira tell lie, oh, this happened, that happened. They don't understand who Krishna is. Evam yuveti tattvataha. First thing is you have to understand who Krishna is. That is why it is very important, before jumping onto Srimad Bhagavatam, before jumping onto understanding Mahabharata, we have to understand the philosophy. That is why Prabhupada used to say, first study, understand Bhagavad Gita, and then open the pages of Bhagavad. Right? First, we have to understand what is Krishna's position, who is Krishna, and then can we understand his pastimes, his leelas. Otherwise, we will misinterpret things using our Kali Yuga brain. Right? Is shooting by a soldier during the war good or bad? Fighting someone, soldiers are fighting for India, right? An authority punishing a criminal, right? So what is the conclusion here? Conclusion is action by itself are not wrong or right. Good and bad depends more on intention than on an action. Why you are doing a certain action. Good and bad can be determined only if there is a standard. Right? If you don't follow your company SOPs, if you don't follow the government rules and regulations, then on the basis of that you will be punished or rewarded. Right? So, right, and good action is which is in line with Lord's rules and regulations. Same as a citizen is supposed to follow the rules of the government. Employee is supposed to follow the working instructions, SOPs, and guidelines in a company. Same way, we also have to follow certain rules and regulations, and they have been laid by Krishna himself. And where can we find them? They are in Bhagavad Gita, scriptures. Right? Now, what is this? Why is this? What is this elephant doing here when we are talking about karma? This is the forest, right? And there are animals there. Arjuna wanted to go to the forest, thinking that if he goes to the forest, he will become liberated. So are these animals in the forest, they are all liberated souls? No. So just going to the forest will not get you liberation. Just wearing a sannyasi cloth will not get you liberation. Krishna said in 3rd chapter, 5th verse, that inaction is unnatural. Right? But then we don't have to go to the other extreme. What is this?
WTC.
right? This is bad karma. This is known as vikarma, right? And what is this? Giving food to people who need
Needy.
good karma, right? Punya. Now let us understand what is bad karma and what is good karma. Now there were two friends, very good friends, and they decided that we will go and steal some money from the bank, right? And they did that. Now what happened? One of them, he took all the money and ran away. That was definitely an impious act. They should have divided money equally. That would have been a pious act, right? And this person is a pickpocket. What is he doing? Stealing a wallet from someone. And then what he does after stealing, he takes some money and gives it in a charity. This is a pious act. Are you all confused what I'm saying? Or you understand?
You're following, sir.
Right. Now, the sun, the moon, the water, the nature, the fruits, and your brain, all these things belongs to whom, my dear friends?
Krishna.
If they belong to Krishna, they should be utilized for whom?
For Krishna.
It took some time to say that, right? It takes, definitely it takes. Because it's an eye-opener for us. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 5.29, Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridaya sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richati. He says, I am the ultimate beneficiary of all the sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all the planets and demigods. Sarva loka maheshwaram. There may be many Ishwar, but I am Maheshwara. Not only of one or two planets, Sarvalok, all the planets. Nevertheless, Suhridaya Sarva Bhutanam, I am well-wisher. I am a loving God. And the person who knows this attains peace. So please try to understand, my dear friends, that the robbers, is, Dr. Mamta, can you please mute your phone? I just hold on.
No, it's muted now.
Okay. So now the thing is, we have to understand that those robbers, if they are dividing the stolen money equally, we say they are doing it, they are very truthful, very nicely, they are very ethical people, dividing the money equally. And if one of them runs away with the money, say, punya means giving the charity here and there. Oh, these people, they are crying, this and that, I will give them charity. Baba, whose money is this? Is this your money? Radheshyam Prabhu was giving an example. He met a person who said, like, I was feeding, so many people and all, and because they wanted it. And Radheshyam Prabhu asked, like, what were you feeding? I would feed them everything. I would also, because they are so weak, and I will feed them meat and everything. Prabhuji said, you may be thinking that you are doing some pious activities, but you will only go to hell. Now, regardless of whether it is a meat or a vegetarian thing, you have to kill someone, right? Eating vegetarian is not a sinless activity. We already read 3.13. right? Yagna shishta shinashanto muchyante sarva kilvicha muchyante te to agam papam ye pachyanti atma karana, right? So eating vegetarian food is not this. People may think that they may be doing some pious act. Other person thought that, I want to give employment to many people. So what he did, he opened that liquor producing factory. I gave employment to so many people. You may be thinking you are doing something pious. Similarly, all of us think that taking care of our family, the way we think, what do we think? Most of us earning money from them, for them, giving good education to them. We are becoming a responsible parent, taking care of our mother. It does not matter whether they are going to hell or heaven. According to us, what matters is, what is acceptable by the Kali Yuga society. That is what matters to us. So that is what it is explained here. The thief, he is stealing that money and then giving money in charity. That is not pious activity. Everything belongs to Krishna and everything should be utilized for Krishna. And Krishna says in 4:15, how should we act? How should we perform our duty? We should follow on the footsteps of Acharyas. We should take advice from spiritualists, transcendentalists, liberated people. How should we act? Right? Now, who is this?
Teller,
Cashier.
bank teller.
Cashier.
So day in, day out, she is counting money, right? Giving and taking, collecting so much money on behalf of bank. Now one day she thinks that, oh, I need money for buying something for my kids. I will take some money. So can she do that?
No.
No, she can't. Everything belongs to whom? To the bank. What she gets is a salary.
Sorry.
And what do we get if we give things back to Krishna? We get prasad. The way these employees get salary, they give everything back to the company. They work for company, they work for organizations, institutes, right? What do they get is a salary. And when we give everything to Krishna, Krishna gives us prasad. You offer bhoga, you get back is prasad. And that you should use for maintaining your body. Right? Now, how should we live? How should we act? How should we perform our duties? We should worship Krishna. Offer bhoga to Krishna. Bhoga and prasad are two different words. Some people say, I will offer prasad to Krishna. You offer bhog to Krishna, and when Krishna eats, then it becomes prasad. Right? Now you people are studying Gita, so it is important that you use these words. Right? What you offer to Krishna is bhog. After Krishna has accepted, what comes is prasad. Then maintain your family members who are devotees of Krishna. It is not that taking care of the COVID vaccination, taking care of their education in good schools and institutes, getting them good clothes, getting them good spouse. All these things are your responsibility, my dear friend. No. Even for your parents, speaking nicely to them, taking care of them is not the only responsibility. It is one of the responsibilities. But what is the primary responsibility? Make sure that they become devotees. Distribute prasad to community. If you have money, you should distribute prasad to community. Right? Right place charity. Like almost all of you have given donations for distributing Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in 18.68 that there is no devotee who is more dear to me than the one who preaches this knowledge to others. So this gives us opportunity, and I tell you, I have that past experience that when before I was here in Bangalore, we used to do the same activity, and we will not distribute Bhagavad Gita to anyone and everyone. We will distribute it in schools or things where we will conduct programs, preaching. We will conduct the same classes for them. And one boy at that time, he was in 7th or 8th class, and now he is an initiated devotee. So, you know, it's lot of piety you earn when you distribute this knowledge to others. It's like very important. Just few days back, we went to a college to take those books, and the lecturer was saying that, you know, you are doing a very important service for the society, because these kids, you know, they don't have any direction, and they need counseling, they need help and support, guidance, right? So we are not just giving these Bhagavad Gita to anyone and everyone. We are, you know, giving, and then we will be following up with them. We will be teaching them, right? So right place charity is important. Do ethical work, like no unethical work. Human life is a junction. We can go to Swarga, you can go to Narka, or you can go to Golok Vrindavan. The choice is yours, right? Now, activities without reaction, they are known as divine activities, akarma, like Hanumanji. Hanumanji set entire Lanka on fire. For whom? In service to Ram, right? And Arjuna also fought on behalf of Krishna, right? It depends on what Krishna wants you to do. Now, same Hanuman who burned the entire Lanka, who killed so many, soldiers of Ravana. Krishna, in Dwapar Yuga, what Krishna asked him to do? Just sit on the flag. When Arjuna was depressed, Hanuman would have told Krishna, I told you why you are depending on him. I could have just killed the entire Duryodhan army in a second. Why you have made me sit on the flag? It is not your strength, your intelligence, your knowledge, your money, your beauty, what Krishna wants. Krishna wants your surrender. You do what he wants you to do, or his representatives want you to. In Dwapar Yuga, same Hanumanji was made to sit on the flag. He never said, Krishna, I could have killed all of them. No, he knows what he is supposed to do, right? That is known as akarma. Now, something related to our day-to-day things, what we do. Okay, a very good example to help you understand what is karma, akarma, and vikarma. Okay. Now, what is this?
Food. Which food?
Vegetarian food. Okay. And what is this? Non-vegetarian food. Right. Now, this vegetarian food or non-vegetarian food, eating both of them is out of our what?
Choice.
Choice, our attachment. We are attached to something. Right? Eating vegetarian food is karma, and eating non-veg food is
Vikarma.
Both of them are our attachment, but one is karma and other is vikarma. Vegetarian food, it is working with attachment according to scriptural injunctions. It is karma. And Vikarma is what? Work with attachment against scriptural injunction. Understood? This is going to take you to Swarga. This is going to take you to Narka. Right? So it is like a bungee jumping, going up and down, up and down, up and down. You will end nowhere. How can you transcend this cycle of birth and death? Then what you should do? Prasad. Eating panu puri and samosa and jalebi is going to not help you if it is not a prasad. Or eating all these things, non-vegetarian things. Don't eat to satisfy your tongue. Don't eat to satisfy your tongue. That is a warning from Krishna. And Krishna is giving you a substitute. Now you tell me, is this not delicious? Prepare bhoga for Krishna. All the delicacies. We have, you know, I should say, this is Bhagavad Gita, thick book. We have almost same size of book about all the bhoga preparations you can prepare. There is a book there. What all you can prepare for Krishna. Prepare, offer to Krishna. Lovingly prepare for Krishna with nice consciousness. Offer it to Krishna and then as a prasadam you take that. Why? That is action in Krishna consciousness. And that is known as akarma. And how is it going to help us? Acts done for pleasure of Krishna with no desire for sense gratification will help you then transcend this cycle of birth and death. I hope this is now clear to you. What is karma? What is vikarma? What is Prasad? Prasad ji, is it clear?
Yep. Okay.
Lavanya ji, you have questions?
No, no, sir.
So now let's further understand that action in action, inaction in action. Okay. Because now Prabhupada used to write books, used to write letters to his devotees, to his disciples, right? He used to cook bhoga. He used to, speak, to write books and all. He used to meet people. What is this? It is karma, vikarma, or karma.
Akarma.
It is acting, but no reaction to work, as acting in the constitutional position. What is the constitutional position? Jivere sarup hoy nitya Krishna.
Krishna Nitya Das.
Right? That is known as inaction. So, action in inaction. Understood? Action in inaction. This is inaction in action. It is a karma, although seemingly it may be a karma, but it is inaction. Now let's see another example. Who is this? Right? This is forest. It is inaction. But then we all know this story. One with impure heart, not performing actions, obtains bondage of karma and subsequent misery. And that is action. So this is action in inaction. Now, will you say you all are intelligent or not after having gone through these slides? Huh? What was that words number? 4.18, right? Person who sees action in an action and inaction in action is intelligent and is supposed to be being in a transcendental position. This is very important for us to understand. let's see further. Now, Krishna is going to explain it in detail. What is inaction in action? How does a person act? What will be his, his approach, his consciousness? Let's see. Jnana burns up his actions. Jnana means knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of Krishna's position. Knowledge of his position, his own position. Knowledge of his own relationship with Krishna. If someone works with that knowledge, following the footsteps of previous acharyas, 4.15, then that knowledge will burn up his actions, right? Inaction in action. Okay. Now, who will read this?
I will read it. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge.
Right. So, one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. A person who is in full knowledge, who understands clearly, what is Krishna's position, what is his own position, he is supposed to be in full knowledge. That person will never act and never have a desire for sense gratification. Right? Now, when you are reading these verses, please keep Prabhupada's activities in your mind and then try to understand. Prabhupada is a good example for all of us. Prabhupada had full knowledge, right? His every endeavor was devoid of desire for sense gratification. He was not he has no intention or motive for enjoying such sense pleasures, right? He is supposed to be said by sages to be a worker for whom he was not just in a forest, right? He was doing different activities, right? But for him, there was no reaction of the work. Why? Because all the reaction have been burned the fire of perfect knowledge. Because whatever he was doing it for Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. Okay. Now, let's see. Perfect knowledge is to know our constitutional principle. And development of this knowledge of eternal servitorship to the Lord is compared to fire, burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So this understanding of our relationship with Krishna is like a fire which burns up. What does it burn? The reaction of love. Right? That is important. And then we go further. A stage of practice. This is verse number 4.20. Who would like to read this?
Abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent. He performs no productive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings.
Thank you very much. So again, let us picturize Srila Prabhupada. Abandoning all attachment. Abandoning all attachment means attachment to sense pleasures, material activities, right? So he didn't have any attachment. Like his, I think so we discussed when we were going through the third chapter that when we are preparing a bhoga for Krishna, so it does not mean that we put any amount of salt saying that I am not attached to the result. Attachment or detachment from the result is determined for whom, what is the purpose of that result, right? If that something is for sense pleasure, then you are attached. If it is not for your sense pleasure, it is for Krishna's pleasure, then you are not attached to the result, because that result is for Krishna. You will, so it is said, you do your best and leave rest on Krishna. It does not mean you do something neglectful or being lazy. Yuddhasya vigata jvara, Krishna says. Don't be lazy when you are acting, right? He is ever satisfied. He's satisfied, santusht, right? Satisfied in whatever Krishna is giving to him, whether it is good or bad, whatever, he accepts it nicely. Independent of what? Independent of materialistic things. He will not, flatter anyone. He performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kind of undertaking. Srila Prabhupada sat in a ship and went to US. He did everything. He wrote books, he did this, that. Everything was for Krishna. Everything was for Krishna. He used to just sleep maybe 2 hours or so. 10 p.m. you'll see he will wake up at midnight. From 12 midnight to 4 a.m. he will write books. Then he will do all the spiritual activities in the morning and preaching, writing letters, meeting people, preaching people, all those activities. Everything was for Krishna. So the freedom from bondage of action is possible only in Krishna consciousness, when one is doing everything for Krishna. Someone would like to read this? Second bullet.
This freedom from the bondage of actions is possible only in Krishna consciousness, when one is doing everything for Krishna. He does his duty to the best of his ability and leaves everything to Krishna. Such an unattached person is always free from the resultant reactions of the good and bad. It is as though he were not doing anything. This is the sign of akarma, or actions without fruitive reactions.
Right? I think so. It's very clear. So, does anyone has any question on this? We should move. Okay. So now, stage of perfection. Now, with what is this? Yagya yacharata karma. Yagya yacharata karma. Stage of perfection. Someone will read this. Recite the words and translate.
I'll read it. Hare Krishna. Nirashir yata chittatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvan napnoti kilbisham. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions.
Nirashir yat chittam, that he has no desire for any result. His mind and consciousness are fully controlled. Right? And shariram kevalam karma, only working to keep the soul and the body together. Kurvan napnoti kilbisham. If he acts in this consciousness, he is never bound. for the bare necessities, living to maintain the bare necessities, not for luxury. And when you have enough, then try to devote some time for Krishna conscious activities. Try to give some charity, try to feed, prasad to people gradually, because it is said that you can never have enough money to satisfy your endless desires. And if you are content, then whatever you have, you will be very happy. We should not have unrealistic, very high ambitions for anything, for not only for ourselves, but sometimes you think, oh, my child, or my this, or my that. These big elephants are living in forest. They are not going to Cognizant or Accenture to earn money, but they are provided with what is their diet, how much kilograms or tons of food does elephant eat. So Krishna has given us enough to fulfill our necessities, but they will not be enough to fulfill our lustful tendencies. So we should act with mind perfectly controlled. Give up the sense of proprietorship. This is mine, this is this, Act only for bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Right? Now, how to understand this? Now, what is this? Someone opening the door. Now, for example, if it is, for example, my friend, my son, Gopal is opening the door. Now, will I say the finger is opening the door? The fingers are opening the door? Or that hand is opening the door? Or will I say Gopal is opening the door?
Gopal opening the door.
When we say, oh, I did this. Oh, I can do this, and oh, this is nothing for me. But Krishna says, I am behind everything. Everything is given by me. Should we be proud of anything? This is mine. Why should I give it in charity? I have earned it in working day and night. I have, my parents have struggled so much for me. I have been struggling so much in my life, and that is how I have earned this money. Why should I give it for charity? Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagatapsam sarvalok maheshwaram suhrida sarvabhutanam yatmamam shantam gacchati. So who would like to read this?
I will read, Smith. A Krishna conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. When the hand moves, it does not move out of his own accord, but by the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna conscious person is always dotted with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. He moves exactly like a part of a machine. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so Krishna conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental living service of the Lord. He is therefore immune to all the reactions of his endeavors.
I think so Prabhupada has explained it very nicely, right? So we should also try to gradually accept this thing. It's not easy, but with the activities you are doing for completing the mind control chart, of which chanting is the most important. If you do your chanting nicely, if you are daily reading Bhagavad Gita, if you are daily hearing Bhagavad Gita, if you are worshipping Tulsi Maharani, if you are following 4 regulative principles, gradually your consciousness will become divine. It will become transcendental. Then for us to accept this will not be difficult. Please try to understand, we have lived millions and billions of life already, taking care of these bodies. Now let us take care of ourselves. Right? And people talk about destiny. You know who is this blind person? Our
Dhritarashtra.
favorite
Dhritarashtra.
And this is his brother, younger brother, Sanjay. So Sanjay will tell him, "You fool, why you are encouraging your rascal son to do all these nonsense activities? Don't agree to whatever he says. Stop this gambling game." And you know what will Dhritarashtra say? "What can I do? This is in destiny." And then Sanjay will say, "Destiny determines the consequences of our action, not our actions themselves." So by destiny, you may have money, but how you are using that money, destiny is not going to decide. It is you who is going to decide. Destiny has already given you money. But by using that money properly, you are going to create your own again destiny. Destiny is not deciding what you are, how you are acting. That is upon you. Destiny can create a situation, but how you act in that situation is dependent on you. We cannot blame destiny on how we are acting. That is upon us. Stage of perfection continues. Gyaya Charata Karma. You know who is this? Maharaj Bharat first he renounced his kingdom. We discussed, I think so earlier, that he renounced a kingdom and he never looked back towards his kingdom the way we never look back to the stool which we pass. So he was so much detached. But somehow by Krishna's arrangement, he got attachment to the deer. And before leaving his body, he was thinking about the deer and he became a deer. But again, by Krishna's blessing, he could remember his past life. And now as a deer, he would not play around with his life. He would live near the ashram, near the rishis. He would eat only dry grass, not even green grass. And then he took birth as a Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat will pose as someone who is fool, but he was self-realized. And once he was, just walking, and then there was a palanquin of King, if I'm not, King Rahugana was going, and then his helpers were tired, and they said, "Hey, you seem to be a hefty person, you help." He said, "Okay." And he also lifted the palanquin. And he was a Paramhans. When he would walk, he would take care that ant should not be killed. So he would, take care. So he was not walking like the palanquin was moving here and there. The king said, "What are you doing? You cannot walk nicely." What? So, and then again it happened. And then king came out of the palanquin and he chastised the person. And then when Jad Bharat started speaking, that king fall in his feet. You please give, you are a very self-realized person. I'm very sorry. So for Jad Bharata, it never mattered. You know, he was always satisfied. He was never envious. Right? So this verse also says. Someone will like to read the verse?
He who is satisfied with gain, which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions.
Always satisfied with whatever comes. Free from duality. Free from duality means he will not blame anyone if something wrong, or he will not be elated if something good happens. We get promotion, we'll spend half of the money in giving party. I got promotion. You got promotion because of Krishna's blessings. Use that money for Krishna. And someone will chastise you, you will go in depression. Person who will be elated will also go in depression. He will not envy anyone. If someone is doing very good, say yes. You know, yes, he will be happy that that person is doing so such a nice devotional service. He will not be envious to our devotee friends. Never. He will be steady in both success and faith. Never entangled. Although performing actions. So those actions, Krishna, when we perform Krishna conscious activities, you know, by default, we will get all those qualities. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. 10.10. Krishna says that these people who understand, you know, aham sarvasya prabho mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. Person who knows that this is my nature. Huh? And what do they do? Bodhayantas chamam bhaktya kathayantas chamam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. Mat chitta matagata prana bodhayantas parasparam kathayantas cha mam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. For these people, I give this, who are always busy in talking about me, listening about me, discussing about me, chanting my names. I give them the knowledge, I give them the intelligence. These qualities we cannot develop artificially, my friends. These qualities, if you try to, you know, go in IIT and try to learn something, these qualities you cannot learn by joining any institute. Krishna is giving a process. The process is by chanting his names. By following the mind control chart, we will get these qualities. We will not get them overnight. But if we consistently, you know, try to improve the quality of hearing, quality of chanting, read scrutinizingly, study, associate with devotees, follow 4 regulative principles. If we do, you will see we will all get these qualities, divine qualities. Right? And then the work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental merges entirely into transcendence. So that the work of that person will never fruit any reaction. Merge in transition means that it will be divine. A person who works with full knowledge, right? He will never be impacted by the result. Becoming fully Krishna conscious. One is freed from all dualities and thus is free from the contamination of material modes. These 3 modes, Rajogun, Satogun, Tamogun, will not impact. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his work are technically sacrifices, yajna. Yagyachalata Krishna. Because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu, Krishna. The resultant reaction to all such work certainly merge into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects. And then we come to 4.24, this last verse for today. Would someone like to recite this?
Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmana Utam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature.
Thank you very much, Vishalji. So many times here the word Brahma is used. Brahma means spiritual, supreme. Brahma Arpanam. So see, everything, the entire energy belongs to whom? Belongs to Krishna. And if those things are utilized for Krishna, they become divine. But if these things are utilized and exploited upon for our own sense gratification, it becomes material. So here Krishna is saying Brahma Arpanam, whatever contributions are, Brahma Havir. Havir, it's like a ghee. You offer ghee in the yajna. Brahma Havir. Brahma Agno, in spiritual fire. Spiritual contributions, spiritual ghee in Agni. Brahma Utam is offered. Brahmeva ten gantavyam. And then that person, what happens? Will certainly reach the spiritual kingdom. Brahma Karma Samadhina. And that by doing those activities, he will achieve Samadhi. He will be fixed in Krishna consciousness. So if we utilize all these things, right, whatever we are contributing, wherever we are contributing, so we are contributing Krishna's money back to Krishna. So that will become a spiritual contribution. That Agni, which is utilizing, is also spiritual. And then we will achieve a spiritual destination. Right? And let me explain you now it in a very easy way. Okay. So what is material and spiritual? Right? Now we can understand anything to be material or spiritual in two senses. One is like a composition of something. Compositional sense, like what is it made up of? Right? For example, this body or anything we see around us is made up of what? Material things. Panch Mahabhut, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Right? But Krishna's body, or we ourselves as living entity, as a soul, what are we made up of? Satchitananda, full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So in compositional sense, everything we look around is material. This body is material. Krishna's body is spiritual. Our soul, we are spiritual. Right? Is it clear to everyone?
Yeah.
So now the other way of looking at things, which is application sense. How we are using something. Let us see. If using Krishna's energy for material activities, right? If all this body, all the material things around us, we are utilizing for our own sense gratification, including just focusing on material well-beings of our family members, of the society, of the community, of the country, of the nation, of the whole world, only from a material perspective. it is material. But if same things, Krishna's energy, all these things, including this body, is utilized for Krishna, then even the so-called Panch Mahabhuta material becomes spiritual. Which is why we say that the body of a spiritual master is transcendental. It is spiritual. Why? Because spiritual masters, their entire body is utilized for Krishna's pleasure. So one is a compositional sense. See, the body of a spiritual master will also get disease, will, you know, it will get old, everything will happen. But even then, why is it transcendental or spiritual? Because that body is being utilized for Krishna. So same thing, same act can be material or spiritual depending on for whom it is being done. Okay. And what is yajna? What is yajna? I think so we discussed in the third chapter when we recited 3.9.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Did we discuss about the principle and that form, right? Form, sometimes people understand yajna to be fire sacrifice, the form. But what is the principle behind yajna?
So whatever we obtain from God, we have to give it back to God.
Yeah, anything, any sacrifice, any activity we are doing for Krishna is a yajna, right? Sacrificing for Krishna, you are doing for Krishna. Okay? So, offering prescribed duties, doing prescribed duties is your dharma. But if you do that dharma for Krishna, for Vishnu, without personal desire, for sense gratification, it is known as yajna. So Vedas, they say yajna vai Vishnu. In other words, the same purpose is served whether one performs prescribed yajna or directly serves Lord Vishnu. So if you are doing an act for Krishna, for Vishnu, then it is yajna. Yajna does not only mean that fire sacrifice, right? So many times we have recited that verse. Krate yadhyayato Vishnum Tretanyam yajato makhe dvapare paricharyayam kalotad hari kirtana. Right? So the way prescribed yajna for Kali Yuga is chanting the names of Krishna. And also whatever we do for Krishna is also yajna. So if one should perform actions for the purpose of yajna, yajna acharata Krishna. What type of yajna is this? Krishna will explain further. Depending on what is your position, right? A brahmachari can do this yajna, others can do this, you know. So there are all the different types of yajna sacrifices are described from 25 to 33. You know, with a brief description of what this is, what we just went through, that all the things should be utilized for Krishna, right? Why? We should perform prescribed duties. Prescribed duties will lead to purification of heart, and when the heart is purified, it will be ready to get transcendental knowledge. So that is very important to understand. I just want to check if anyone has any question, any comments.
Sumit in 4.11 and 4.12, right, we learned about Krishna reciprocates to how, I don't know whether you should term them devotees, but how people worship Krishna or the demigods. And they are basically worship for the fruitive results that they deserve, that they desire, which is a sense gratification or attachment. So will this be defined as vikarma or karma, as an action? And if people are getting their the want for fruitive results achieved, then how will they become a devotee? Because devotee should be desireless.
Yeah, Very good question. So, Dipesh, let's get back to what we learned in the yoga ladder. So, people are not even touching the yoga ladder, are full atheist people. They do everything without any scriptural injection, without
Right.
following any scripture. Their aim is to be happy and they do all nonsense because they don't follow Vedas, right? They don't follow scriptures. While there are people who say, no, we will follow Vedas, we'll follow scriptures. We want to enjoy, but we will enjoy according to as per Vedas. So what do we call them? Karm Kand. So Karm Kand people will follow all the worship, demigod worship, those activities. Their aim is to be happy and all, right? And then, but they will follow scriptures. And what is their aim? If they follow scriptures, where will they go? They'll go to Swarga, right? By worshipping our demigods, doing this, that, they'll follow. Atheist people, they go to Naraka. Our Karmakandi people, they'll go Swarga. Now, following the scriptures, sometimes they will also go through the scriptures, sit in some classes by chance, right? And they understand that Swarga also there is death. Indra is also in anxiety. So is there any place which is better than Swarga? Then someone will tell, because they are in touch with the scriptures. So, oh yes, there is one place where there is no death, from where you will not have to take birth again in this material world, which is Dukhalayam Ashashwata, full of misery, and it is temporary. So what is that place, my friend? There is some place and there is a process for it. Oh, can you please tell me? Yes, why not? So there is a process by which you can do, same thing. What you are doing in Karma Kanda, you can do with Sakam Karma Yoga. Same, you enjoy, but you worship Krishna. You worship Vishnu. And then, okay, then I will try to do this. Why not? I will not do only this Karma Kanda ritual. I will stop doing, I will better worship that person who can help me. If I worship Krishna, right? And then they will come to know about Krishna and they'll say, oh, there is a very nice scripture, Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks about what he wants. And they will read Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, his song of Krishna. And then they will read Krishna, and when Krishna is saying this, hey, you were fool when you were worshipping the demigod. Your intelligence was not very strong. Why? Because everything they are giving, I am only providing them. And whatever they give, it is temporary and limited. While, and if you keep worshipping, you will go to their planets, Swarglok here. But if you worship me, it will be permanent. 9.22. Whatever you have, I will protect. You lack, I will provide. I will take care. You will come to my planet, from where you will not have to take birth again. I will take care of everything. That is very interesting. So I will now start following this. We'll start doing Nishkam Karma Yoga. Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is very good. So I will do things, for Krishna now. I will not expect anything for myself. I'll try to do things for Krishna, right? And then they will come in contact with devotees, and devotees will say, you should do this, how you should do this, what you should do, and if they are fortunate enough, they directly come to the Bhakti Yoga platform, following the escalator rather than following the staircase, right? Or sometimes, they follow this thing. They all can go to the Gyan path. They will achieve liberation then. And if they get an opportunity to meet some, worshippers of followers of Ashtanga Yoga process, they can meditate on Super Soul Paramatma, not meditate on voidism or this or light, or meditate on Paramatma, Vishnu form, expansion of Vishnu Bhagwan, right? They can go to Vaikuntha planet also, right? And again, even through the staircase, they can finally achieve bhakti. And then also, so yes, even following, it is not that by demigod worship there is no choice left. Definitely there is a choice left for them, because sometimes people would ask Prabhupada this question. Prabhupada, is these Gyanvadis, Brahmavadis and all, are they better, or these Christians who are very pious and Muslims who are pious and they are doing this, they are better? Prabhupada says anyone following Vedas is better, because there is a high chance they will come to bhakti, final conclusions. So anyone following the Vedas is better, because there is an opportunity for them for further growth, right? So in a company, now you can only grow to this much. In a company, small company, your salary can only be, for example, 100,000 rupees per month. But in a big company, there is no end to where your salary can grow. So you can compare these two things.
Right.
Yeah. Dipeshji, does that answer your question?
Yes, Sumanji. So we can't connect that activity of a person who believes in achieving something by worshipping the demigods, or thinking that Lord Krishna will reciprocate to his wants, as a vikarma or akarma, not like that, because we are looking at the karma of the ladder.
Karma.
Yeah. Okay.
That will be that. It will be karma.
Okay.
It depends. Some people, they follow Vedas and they do all the sense gratification and all this thing. It depends on what they are doing. It can be vikarma also. As we discussed, Arjuna going to forest can also become vikarma. So what cannot become vikarma? The important thing is cannot be a general rule for it. That what can be, like doing this, can they do this? Can it be a karma? It can be a karma, it can be a vikarma. Depending on what they are doing, why they are doing. And even it can be a karma also sometimes. If they are, for example, if they know the position of the demigod, what is the position of demigods in relation to Krishna? With that position in mind, if they are going to demigod and praying to demigod that hey Ganesha, hey Vigna Vinashak, please remove all the impediments, all the hurdles in the path of my devotional services for Krishna. So what is it? Right? So it depends on why you are going to a demigod.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Any other question or comment anyone has? Okay. So we will chant the Hare Krishna mantra 5 times and end the session. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta